The first indications appeared like faint disturbances beneath calm water, subtle ripples that almost no one noticed. They emerged in satellite archives, in scattered signals drifting through encrypted channels, and in fragments of shipping data that should not have aligned but somehow did. The world above remained silent, oblivious, unaware that a hidden axis of power was beginning to coalesce in the shadows. But within the deep corridors of Langley, there was a moment, quiet, almost imperceptible, when veteran analysts felt the first tremor of something vast building beneath the surface. It was not a threat with a name or face, not yet. It was a pattern, a pulse, a mystery forming at the edges of global surveillance. And as it drew closer, it carried the weight of a storm powerful enough to alter the balance of the world. In those early hours, the intelligence environment hummed with its usual haze of deciphered chatter and digital noise. 1,000 streams of data flowing in and out of the CIA's global network. Analysts monitored military postures, energy markets, cyber intrusions, all routine. But then came an anomaly buried inside a supply chain manifest from a port in the Indian Ocean. A brief stutter in the routing codes that suggested the cargo had been scanned twice, once under an alias. Normally, it would have been dismissed as clerical inconsistency. Instead, it triggered a cross-check that revealed discrepancies stretching across 3 continents. The CIA first discovered the situation when a systems automation flagged a cluster of vessels broadcasting false transponder identities, all converging toward isolated waters with no commercial relevance. That convergence hinted at more than economic maneuvering. It suggested coordination. Hidden choreography was taking place, and someone had gone to great lengths to hide the rhythm. The discovery phase began with suspicion rather than certainty. Signals intelligence captured bursts of encrypted traffic bouncing between hardened servers in Eastern Europe, East Asia, and a remote facility in the Caucasus. None of the transmissions themselves were readable, but their timing formed a repeating cadence, like the heartbeat of an operation designed to stay invisible. At the same time, satellite imagery identified unusual construction patterns at military outposts officially listed as inactive. Aerial photos showed rapid installation of long-range radar, nocturnal movement of unmarked aircraft, and heat signatures indicating underground infrastructure. Cyber analysts traced the anomalies to a shared encryption style, rare, distinct, one used only by high-level state actors. Piece by piece, early signs of something dangerous emerged. Someone was constructing an architecture of power, one that transcended borders and operated beyond declared alliances. Tension escalated when the anomalies multiplied. Task force was formed quietly, assembled from analysts, clandestine operatives, cyber specialists, and geopolitical strategists. They worked in isolation inside a sealed operations center beneath Langley, a place where phones were surrendered and walls absorbed every whisper. The task force sifted through petabytes of data, covert shipments of advanced materials, rare earth elements disappearing without explanation, nuclear fuel samples misreported as defective stock, and diplomatic flights that diverted at the last moment to remote airstrips. Each clue grew stronger, pointing toward a network with the precision of an alliance, but an alliance never declared, never acknowledged. Hidden movements intensified. Secret meetings between military delegates occurred at obscure border towns. Covert behaviors indicated trust between nations historically at odds. The world's intelligence maps, once predictable, were being redrawn without a sound. Confirmation came when an undercover asset embedded in a research facility in Central Asia obtained fragments of a secure project designation. The phrase, when translated, hinted at something monumental, a combined strategic initiative. At the same time, a deep cover operative in the Mediterranean intercepted a briefcase of encrypted drives intended for transport to an unregistered military outpost. The CIA's cyber division cracked one of the drives after weeks of silent penetration attempts, revealing a digital blueprint of coordinated missile defense integration between countries that publicly claimed no cooperation whatsoever. Satellites captured unmistakable coordination drills at testing grounds supposedly abandoned years earlier. The danger was rising, not because any single nation was acting aggressively, but because several were merging their capabilities into a silent, unified military bloc. A hidden superpower alliance was forming beyond the eyes of the global order. In response, the CIA moved with a precision shaped by decades of covert experience. Countermeasures were deployed across multiple theaters: cyber infiltration of classified military networks, silent sabotage of encrypted communication lines, and discreet manipulation of shipping manifests to reroute critical components into controlled ports. Surveillance intensified using orbital assets designed for deep penetration imaging. Able to map subterranean facilities through ground resonance, Mossad and MI6 provided parallel support, feeding Langley confidential intercepts from diplomatic backchannels. Each effort carried immense risk. Every misstep threatened exposure. The agency could not appear to be probing, not when dealing with nations capable of retaliating through economic warfare or proxy conflicts. Yet urgency dominated every decision. Left unchecked, the newfound alliance could shift global power in a single generation, bypassing the mechanisms that upheld geopolitical stability. Evolving intel brought the operation to its peak as the task force uncovered the full truth. A final set of intercepted communications, decrypted after months of relentless cryptanalysis, revealed the Hidden Alliance's goal: the formation of a joint command council capable of pooling nuclear, cyber, and space defense resources under a unified strategic doctrine. It was not merely cooperation, but the birth of a shadow superpower, one capable of counterbalancing the West without ever announcing its existence. A shocking revelation emerged when thermal scans from low Earth orbit detected a massive subterranean coordination center carved beneath a dormant mountain range. The facility was shielded by advanced electromagnetic dampening, designed to fool even the most sensitive reconnaissance satellites. Every clue aligned into a single stark reality: the world had been standing on the edge of a new geopolitical era, one crafted silently by a coalition that had stitched together its power through decades of subtle movements and discreet exchanges. The climax unfolded when CIA field operatives infiltrated the alliance indirectly through compromised contractors and misdirected digital pathways. A final operation targeted the subterranean hub's external data relay, exposing the full network architecture. The agency discovered integrated command algorithms capable of instant resource mobilization across 3 continents, automated retaliation triggers, and experimental communication systems immune to traditional interception. What shocked the task force most was not the sophistication, but the timeline. The alliance had been building this infrastructure for years, long before any public diplomatic hints had emerged. The CIA had not stumbled upon the early stages of formation. They had discovered a fully matured entity ready to activate its strategic framework. The realization hit with the weight of a geopolitical earthquake. The silence of the Hidden Alliance had been its greatest weapon, one that allowed it to evolve in plain sight under the cover of normal geopolitical chaos. Neutralizing the threat required subtlety instead of confrontation. The agency could not expose the alliance without triggering global panic or tipping off those involved. Instead, a mosaic of covert operations was deployed. Discreet sabotage of deep-sea communication cables supporting the alliance's encrypted relays. Silent insertion of logic bombs into the digital backbone of its missile integration system, and engineered diplomatic rifts that introduced distrust. Between key participating nations, financial pressure was applied indirectly through manipulated market indicators that triggered resource shortages at critical infrastructure sites. No explosions, no assassinations, no dramatic raids, only invisible cuts, each one weakening the cohesion of the hidden bloc until its organizers began doubting one another's loyalty. Within months, the alliance's internal transmissions slowed, then fractured, then ultimately halted. The threat dissolved without ever reaching the world's headlines. In the resolution, the CIA's task force was dissolved quietly. Analysts returned to their usual stations. Operatives vanished back into their established covers. Servers storing the operation's intelligence were locked behind classified firewalls, accessible only to a handful of officials, whose existence was more rumor than fact. No ceremonies marked the success. No medals were issued. The world above continued as if nothing had happened, unaware of how close it had come to waking under a new axis of global power. The hidden superpower alliance faded back into the shadows from which it had risen, its ambitions dismantled piece by hands the public would never see. The final reflection lingered in the minds of those who had witnessed the operations unfolding. Intelligence work at its core was not about celebration or recognition. It was about the quiet wars fought in silence. The battles prevented before they began, the threats neutralized before the world learned to fear them. Most victories would never be told. most sacrifices would never be known. Behind every stable dawn, there were hidden struggles carried out by those who worked in secrecy, guided by shadows and driven by duty. And somewhere in the vast quiet of global surveillance, new patterns were always forming, waiting to be discovered. The world's balance hung not on visible power, but on unseen guardians who scanned the darkness for the next ripple, the next anomaly, the next silent threat rising beneath the surface.